What the heck is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since we snuck a video in here, and it feels almost ridiculous to have a video right next to the start of the draft not be about the draft. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are making news, and that means we're making videos. AB is coming back on a 1-year contract. It is just over $3 million, and with incentives, all that good stuff, it could push up to just over $6 million. Now, I will be the first to say this is more money than I thought that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to invest in AB. I am a little bit surprised by it, although that's not to say it's a bad thing. Cameron Brate restructured his deal in order to make room for this. Thank you to Cameron Brate, all that good stuff. Just another person added to the list. Happy to restructure to help out the team. You'll love to see it. Truthfully, I thought Antonio Brown was going to be offered, like, really, not necessarily the veteran minimum, but I did think that he would be offered something around the veteran minimum, much closer to the veteran minimum, at least, than this deal. However, I'm not complaining. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can find the cap space to just pay everybody, then the heck with it. Just pay everybody. And I do want to give a small quick shout out. In a daily Bucks Minute, by the way, go to the Instagram, guys. Check out the daily Bucks Minutes. We posted 2 daily Bucks Minutes today. It's the first time we did a double dose. 2 daily Bucks Minutes in one day, but we post them every day. They're daily Bucks Minutes, and there's just other good stuff that we post on there. Just constant good content coming out, so go and check it out. We talked about a tweet that Rick Stroud posted in a daily Bucks Minute a little while ago, and basically, I'm paraphrasing, but the tweet said, because Antonio Brown's legal issues have been settled, look for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to re-sign him sooner rather than later. It wasn't exactly the next day, but sooner rather than later, Antonio Brown got signed. So shout out to Rick Stroud. He was on it, he knew it, he called it, he was right. Good job, Rick Stroud. Now, there's a whole lot I want to break down with this. I do think that this is not even the most surprising or most impressive offseason move that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made this year. This offseason has been jam-packed, filled up to the brim with offseason moves. And this one is a great move. Good job by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but there were more impressive moves that they have made this offseason, I think, or just more surprising moves. I kind of always expected, like I said, the money is a little bit different than what I would have anticipated, but I kind of always expected Antonio Brown to come back. I mean, Tom Brady just kind of has this kind of effect on guys, and I do think that there is something to be said. Do I think that no matter what, Antonio Brown was coming back? No, not necessarily. I think if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offered Antonio Brown, 2 nickels and a bag of potato chips, and the Kansas City Chiefs or the Seattle Seahawks said, well, we'll give you $10 million, I think it's a different story. But I think when you're playing with a player and a teammate, especially for receivers, or a tight end in the situation with Gronk, when you're playing with a quarterback or just a teammate in general who is directly responsible for your success, if you have that guy, right, and anyone out there who's, my receivers, anybody out there who's played receiver, you've played tight end, and you were like the go-to guy or a guy who got reps, right, and you had that kind of wavelength with your quarterback, right, you were locked in, you guys knew each other, you understood how to see the field, like, through the same scope, all of that. That's a real thing. That quarterback-wide receiver chemistry, that is a real thing. And it's very difficult to create it if it's not there. You can work, you can build it, but ultimately, it's difficult. It takes repetition, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes work ethic. It's a difficult thing to build. I think, Tom Brady kind of spoils these guys because Tom Brady, I think, realizes how crucial that element of football is, and he makes sure that he's got that wavelength with everyone, because it's not like it's just Antonio Brown or just Rob Gronkowski or just Wes Welker or just Julian Edelman or just Danny Amendola. It's everybody. That's what Tom does. I didn't even mention all the running backs that Tom Brady checks it down to and has incredible timing and chemistry with in the passing game. So it's just Tom. Tom understands how to get on the same page with people better than any other quarterback that I've seen, and I think when when you're a receiver and you've been with a quarterback like that, it's very difficult to step away from that because ultimately the quarterback determines your success, right? As a receiver, no matter how good you are, if the guy can't throw you the ball, you can't be good at your job. You could get open all day. You could be leaving guys on the ground, confiscating ankles with your routes. Nobody can jam you at the line. You're on fire. But if the quarterback can't get you the ball because it's Mitchell Trubisky, like I feel bad for Allen Robinson, like straight up. Allen Robinson is a perfect example. This guy's a stud receiver, but he played with Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky. Well, damn, that's tough. So when you have a situation like AB has, like Gronk has always had, where you are with a quarterback that you have the utmost confidence in, you know that this guy will give me an opportunity to do what I can do the best. He will allow me to excel at my craft. That is an invaluable trait. Like, that is something that you can't measure. You know, it's not finite. I mean, that is something that is just so crucial and is prevalent on the mind of any receiver who's been through it. And I do think that Antonio Brown has been through it because even though Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger had outstanding on-the-field chemistry, touchdowns galore, yards everywhere, catches every single year, just crazy, stats all over the place, off the field, they did not get along. They, like, kind of, you know, if you, depending on the reports you believe, choose to believe, whatever, it's almost like they kind of hated each other. So that didn't click. And I also think that AB experienced Derek Carr for a little while, very limited sample size, but just being around Derek Carr. And I think AB probably said, man, this dude ain't the dude. To go out into free agency and go to a team in a situation, a place you're unfamiliar with, and a quarterback you don't know, even if he's a super talented quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, those are talented guys. But ultimately, you've never been in battle with those guys. So you don't really know what it's going to be like until you get there. And I think that makes it really tough to leave a guy like Tom because you just know when push comes to shove, Tom can help me do my job better than other quarterbacks can. And that is an invaluable trait. And AB and Tom definitely have that rapport. Awesome stuff. The next thing I want to jump into about Antonio Brown is a little bit of a prediction, a forecast, something like that. Now, Antonio Brown obviously only played half a season last year. And looking at his stats right here, he managed to get 45 catches for 483 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 2 rushes for a whopping -2 yards. So those rushes did not go anywhere, but that's okay, AB. So 45 catches, 483 yards in half a season. I mean, this is not bad. I mean, that you know, we all saw what AB was last year. The dude came off the couch, hadn't played in forever, took time to ingratiate himself into the offense. It is what it is. I feel so confident. Like, so confident in saying this. Now, injuries aside, I always like to say injuries aside because injuries could change anything. But if everybody is healthy, Antonio Brown in 2021 is going to be so much better than Antonio Brown in 2020. I think a lot of people forget just because of the name on the jersey and the face in the helmet. I mean, that's AB, right? Business is booming. That's Antonio Brown. He's going to the Hall of Fame, right? I think a lot of people forget just how hard it is to play football in the National Football League at a high level. And it's even harder if you just decide in the middle of your career, you're just going to take a year off. That's really what Antonio Brown did. Whether or not it was his decision or just something that he was forced into doing, he took a year off of football, right? He played 1 game with the New England Patriots, sat out an entire season minus the New Orleans Saints workout, which is just disgusting to think about. Antonio Brown on the Saints. My gosh, that would have been awful. Holy cow, that would have just been terrible. Then he sat for another whole offseason not being involved with any team, sat another whole halfway through the National Football League season the next year before the Bucs picked him up. So if you're thinking for a minute that that doesn't make a player rusty, then you're crazy and you don't know like what it takes to play football, because you can't practice football without playing football. Like, you could run around and get in good physical shape, lift weights, maybe catch some footballs, but it's just not the same as being in a game and people actually hitting you. It's just very different. And Antonio Brown was absolutely just thrown into the mix. I mean, he got thrust into the action. Literally, the first game he was signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was the worst game I've ever seen as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. New Orleans Saints come to Tampa on a Sunday night game, and it was a massacre. I mean, a genuine massacre. And I can say that with a smile on my face now because we came back and got him in the playoffs. But my gosh, I mean, just thinking back to that game, that was literally the worst game. I don't even want to think about it anymore. Worst game. Awful. And we force-fed the ball to AB in that game way more than I would have thought we would, considering it was literally his first game with the team. But he was thrust into the action immediately. I think that that is such an underrated thing that he just got thrown in. I mean, he played very few actual, like, meaningful, serious games before, but all of a sudden it was just the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, round 2, he doesn't come back out of the locker room at halftime. He gets hurt right before halftime against the Saints, misses the second half of that game, doesn't play in Lambeau. So we really only played the Washington football team wild card round game, and then the Super Bowl. That's it. Like, this is a guy who is going to benefit just exponentially from having an offseason, a training camp, a preseason if there is one, and then just an entire 16 or 17 game season to get in the flow with the team. Like, think about how hard it is to do your job when you go from 0 to 60 like that. You're doing absolutely nothing, haven't done anything in a long time, and all of a sudden you're competing at the highest stage with the greatest players around you, and you're in, contention for the chip. Like, that is crazy stuff right there. That is absolutely crazy stuff. So to me, I think Antonio Brown is going to be way better. And I also think Antonio Brown's motivation is going to be very high, because I think right now he sees what the league thinks of him, because he came back and he tried to play like the good soldier card. He came back and he was clearly trying to show everybody, I'm a different guy. Like, let's let bygones be bygones. Do not associate me with my past actions. Look at me for what I am now. And that's fine. No problem with that. None whatsoever. He went that route. And the league still kind of, for the most part, rejected him. They said, well, yeah, we saw that, and yeah, you did have some good numbers in a shortened season, but ultimately, we don't really want to give you those dollars. Because what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave him, even though it is more, admittedly more than I thought they would give Antonio Brown, it is nothing compared to what other receivers are making out there who are capable of it, what Antonio Brown is capable of. It's not even close. So, to me, he kind of got rejected by the league. So I think, if anything, Antonio Brown is going to come back next year motivated and pissed off. Because I think he's got something to play for and something to prove to the rest of the league. Like, oh, really? You thought that I went somewhere? Like, Antonio Brown is not a young man, but he's also not an old man. Okay, he's 32 years old, and he's the kind of receiver that does have longevity. He is not a Des Bryant style of receiver, where eventually they're just going to fall off a cliff, hit a wall, and they have no more, like, they go from their prime and they're unstoppable to just, oh, Des Bryant's got to go. That is not Antonio Brown. He is a route runner. He's agile more so than long speed, although he can run. He's got reliable hands. He's a high IQ football player. He is feisty. He has the traits that last, that sustain a career. Right? Part of why he's such a great player to begin with. So with that being said, I really do expect Antonio Brown to, statistically, it's anyone's guess what any player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to do statistically, because just of the sheer stockpile of weapons. It's tough to really differentiate, like, who is really going to get these reps. That's tough. Tough to say what his stats will be next year. I really don't know. But I just think Antonio Brown is going to have a massive impact on the team next year, and a much bigger impact than he had this past year. Because even though his stats are decent, if you really watched all the games, there was only a few moments here and there where Antonio Brown really made a huge impact on a game, right? There was a couple games where Antonio Brown really stepped up and made some great plays. But there was a lot of games where Antonio Brown just kind of faded back, and he wasn't really at the forefront. I think that'll be very different next year. This has been a long video. It's been a fun video, guys. I love making these videos. I love when the Bucs are doing some fun stuff. There will definitely be videos of course there's going to be videos about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they draft, all of that stuff. So, I mean, just stay tuned for it because it's coming. But man, I love it. I love it. That is going to do it for this video. Thanks for sticking to the end, guys. Leave a comment. Go down there. Tell me how you're feeling. Are you excited? I love, like, on the last video I did, we got a ton of interaction in the comments, and I love talking to you guys in the comments. So leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Leave a comment for sure, though, because I really, like, come on. Give me that excitement. I know you guys have got to be feeling good about what's going on with our Tampa Bay Bucs right now. That's going to do it for this video. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your 2020 Super Bowl champs, baby. Holy cow.